everyone, welcome back to my channel. Right, this is CY once again. Yesterday I did a review, not really a review, a first look on this particular grinder. I call it the Baby EK. It's actually the name was actually given by a group of my coffee friends, right? On Instagram group, right? We call this the Baby EK. And currently I have two of this machine. One is actually the Fuji Royal, which is actually made in Japan, and this particular one is actually made in China. It's manufactured, I'm not too sure whether it's manufactured and designed by the 3Bomber company in China, because I actually seen quite a few similar design with variable speed, RPM, and some kind of a single dose grinder. And I've been actively searching for the flat burr. I think it's a 59mm flat burr for this grinder. I have managed to find some information on that, and I'll be making the purchase pretty soon, so that I can actually test this machine for espresso grind in very near future once I'm able to purchase the 59 or 60mm flat burr set for this particular grinder. Right, I may also want to get one set for my Fuji Royal. I'll probably get one set first to see whether it fits on both. And if it fits on both, if it is able to grind espresso, I may be getting two sets. I'm not too sure. Let's see how it goes. For today's video, I'm just going to do a test on this particular grinder, because when I first when I've made the first video, I actually give you I just give you an outlook of the grinder and all the accessories that comes with it. And for today's test, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a taste test on my coffee. Right, this is actually the Yunnan coffee, red wine coffee beans, which we have roasted by our company. This is roasted on the Christmas day, actually, which is about slightly less than 3 weeks. Okay, my water is ready. This is roasted slightly towards the medium side. And for today's test, I'm going to run the grinder at the lowest RPM, which is 1004 RPM. And the only variation I'm going to do is actually with and without the blind shaker, to see whether with the blind shaker how will it be the tasting of the coffee likes, and with the blind shaker. So same RPM, same beans, with and without the coffee grind shaker. So that's the only thing. And the particular screen that I'm using is actually the finest one. So I'm just going to filter out the finest coffee, and I will not be sieving out the slightly coarser one, because I still want I want to see whether what this sieve can do. So basically what is going to happen is I'm going to measure about 10 gram each, and then I'm going to dose, and one of them I'll shake and one of them I'll leave it, and so that I can compare the taste of the two. Right, so without further ado, let's dive into that. So basically I'll be using this. Let's get the scale ready. And I've also got 2 cups and 2 V60 funnels for me to do the pour over coffee. So let's measure 10 grams to do. So I'll be using about 150 grams of water, or slightly less. At the same time, I also want to find out the sieve can probably sieve out how many grams of the fine coffee. So now it's exactly 10.0 gram. So first one, I'll probably do the one with blind shaker. Right, so, and remember we are doing at the 1004 RPM, and in the future video I'll be doing the RPM test to see whether there will be actually a taste difference if I grind at the 1004, 1005, and what happens if I grind at higher RPM, right? So that's the future test for this particular grinder. Right, so just put the grind catcher here, switch on the grinder, lowest RPM, open up the chute here. I'll be using the bellow from DS64. There's still a few beans that's not grinded. Technically, when I bellow, there's actually nothing coming out, right? Which means that it's pretty much There's nothing remaining. Ooh. Let me check. Yep. Okay, I think most of the coffee ground has been grinded. Right, I already can smell the coffee fragrance from it. So for this one, I'm going to shake it. Right, so I'll probably be shaking for about 30 seconds. So if you find this part bored, you can actually fast forward. May not be really 30 seconds, but it will be around there because I'm actually looking at the recording time. So I've started shaking for about 15 seconds now. So let's continue shaking for another 15 seconds. Okay, I think that's about it. So I've already shaking it. I've already shake it for about 20 seconds. So let's find out how much coffee fine powder are there. Okay, maybe first let's check how much coffee has I put 10 grams inside. Let's see whether I get 10 grams out. 9.9 grams, right? So it's pretty good. So this one actually has about 0.1 grams of retention. It's jumping back to 10, which means there's literally no retention on this grinder, which is not surprising because of the geometry and the way that the burrs are aligned. So it's 10 grams, exactly 10 grams in, 10 grams out. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the fine coffee powder. So I'm just going to use this wooden sort of a plate. Let me zero this. The good thing is that the blind catch at the bottom is actually magnetized. Oh. My Akaya scale can't pick up even 0.1 gram. So let me show you the amount of fine coffee powder that is. So this is the fine coffee powder that is actually being sieved out by the sieve. So remember this one, I'm not going to remove this powder. I'm going to remove this powder, sorry. And this is what's going to happen. I'm going to brew it. So the test will be very similar. So I will just be warming up the cup on both. So please bear with me. Right, so let's warm the cup. Okay, so that's pretty warm up. So I will probably get a container to contain the water. So let me grab a sort of container for this. Okay, let me see what do I have here. Right, I'll just be using this temporarily. So what's going to happen is at the same time the cup is warm, and I'm just going to pour it inside here. So the temperature of water is about 96 degrees Celsius. So I'm just going to pour it over. So the cups on my left hand side, right, is actually the one that with the fine grind powder being filtered out. Right, so for the next one, I'm not going to use the blind shaker. I'm not going to shake it. I'm just going to grind 10 grams and then pour it over here with the fine grind powder. Remember the RPM setting is still the same. Same amount of beans, 10 grams. Wait, let me see. I forgot to tear this, so let me do this again. Okay. Okay, slightly overdose. .4. Right, exactly 10 gram as well here. So the Akaya scale is actually pretty sensitive. So right now let me grind. So with the same setting, exactly the same grind setting, I'm actually using the grind setting of 6 on both grinder. Right, so let's switch on the grinder. Okay, same thing. I want it to be fair, so I'll probably just bellow it. Okay, so there's nothing trapped. So switch off the grinder. Let's measure the how much coffee comes out. Exactly 10 grams. So technically this grinder has no retention at all. So I'm not going to shake it. I'm just going to empty everything there. From the observation, right, there's a tiny bit of fine coffee powder that's on top of the coffee ground that has been grounded. Right, so right now I'm just going to brew the coffee. Currently I do not have 2 scale, so I'll probably be doing this one after another. So I'm just going to let it, okay, since I'm using 1:15 ratio, I'm going to get about 10 grams of coffee here. I'm going to get about 150 grams of water. So let's do the blooming first. Right, let it bloom for about 30 seconds. Okay, I probably grinded a little bit too coarse, but I think it should be fine. Okay, 30 seconds, so I'm just going to do 1 pour all the way to 150 grams of water. Okay, about 153 grams of water. But if I count in the water that's being retained by the coffee ground, it should have about 120 to 130 grams of output. So now let's switch over to my the coffee ground that has the fine powder still remaining inside. So same thing, I'm just going to do okay, let me reset the timer. Let it bloom for about 30 seconds. I think the water flows slightly slower on the cup with a little bit of fine powder that's inside. So I guess that will probably affect the flavor of the coffee. So right now it's 30 seconds. I'm just going to continue pouring until I reach 150 grams of water. Yep, about 153 grams, same as both. So I just let the water drains out. So hope that you have you can stay with us for the entire video. So I kind of like this grinder. First of all, it really gives me a zero retention, and I think I will see whether this grinder actually need to be aligned, because there's only one center spring. The spring is actually pretty big, and the spring and I think the 2 screws actually help to align the burr parallel to each other, and the spring sort of push against each other. So when you adjust it, the spring actually the tension of the spring actually press against the 2 burr set, which allows you to do the adjustment, right? So yep, I can see that the flow rate is slightly slower. on the one on my right, which is the one with fine coffee powder that's inside. Okay, so the drawn down is complete. Okay, so let me remove this and let's do a taste when it's hot. Okay, let's leave it here. Alright, so let's do a taste test. Let's smell it first, right? It smells pretty much the same. So in terms of smell, I can't really tell any difference. So I'll let the coffee cool down slightly before I start to give you a taste. And at the same time, I want to get a cup of water so that I can rinse my mouth to get rid of the taste of the coffee before I try the next one. Alright, so let's taste the one on my left, which is the one with the fine grind powder removed. The amount that is removed is actually less than 0.1 gram. So the fine powder is actually pretty minimal, I would say. I'm not too sure whether that will actually affect the taste. Okay, this Yunnan coffee bean is roasted slightly differently from the previous batches. This was slightly roasted towards the darker side, which is closer to medium. Normally for the Yunnan red wine beans, I will usually roast to light to medium. But this batch I roasted slightly closer to the medium side, so you will have you will have a slightly greater body. Right, so right now, let me rinse my mouth and taste the other one. So this is the cup with the fine powder not removed by the sieve. That's interesting. Let me taste again the one with the fine grind powder removed. This is definitely a cleaner cup, even though the difference is very, very minimal, but I can definitely taste a slight difference between the two. Right, so let me try the one with fine grind powder removed. Yeah, this one is somehow slightly more muddy, and the clarity is not as high as this one. This one brings out a sweeter cup as compared to this cup here. Yep, and yeah, this is definitely sweeter. So I think this is really a good thing here. It's a good gadget to actually remove the fine grind. It doesn't remove the I would say the medium fine powder. It does remove the ultra fine powder, which actually cloud the taste of the coffee. So as you can see, only this much of fine grind powder is being removed, and it's less than 0.1 gram. It cannot even be picked up by my Akaya scale. So you can see that the amount of fine, really fine powder, let me touch it, is really like a flour kind of a powder, right? So this has been removed, and the removal of this actually give me a much better cup. I would say is a lot better, and a sweeter cup and clearer cup. I can pick up the tasting note much better with this as compared to this one, right? So I think that's the reason why they include this the blind shaker is actually for you to filter out the really ultra fine coffee that's been grinded. I think the last bit actually has quite a bit of fine powder that's being retained there. And as you grind, the fine grind powder will tend to rest on top of the coffee, and that's the one that's probably causing the taste to be different. And this is really interesting. So probably in the next video, I would like to try, still with the same RPM, but I would like to try different type of sieve from this the set that comes with the machine. So I'll try different sieve size and see whether it actually affect the tasting note. So this is pretty interesting actually. The same machine, same beans, same mass of the beans, same RPM, and as I grind it, the only difference here is actually the with and without the fine grind powder being removed, right? So even though the fine powder removed is very, very minimal, but the tasting profile is still very different from both cups. Right, so thank you for joining me today, right? Hope you have enjoyed today's video, and I kind of really like this grinder actually, and it'll be interesting if I do the same blind shaker on the Fuji Royal. That is without the RPM, variable RPM speed there. So there's actually a lot of things I can test with this grinder. It's going to be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for my other for my future video release on this grinder. So probably the next one I'll be testing with different size of the sieve to see whether I can actually see whether the taste actually affected by the kind of a fine coffee powder that's being removed by the sieve. Right, so thank you for joining me. Right, this is CY once again, and if you're first time joining my channel, right, and do hit the subscribe button and hit the like button to like my videos, so that more people can know about this grinder. And maybe if you like to test, right, you can actually get this grinder. It's below $300 Singapore dollar before shipping, right? So it's around, I think it's around 1,005 RMB if I'm not wrong, right? You can find it easily on all sorts of shopping platform online, right? So thank you once again. I'll see you very soon in the next video, and stay safe.